Everybody. Thank you for joining our Unlock and Learn webinar series presented by Hostivo, where I get to interview and bring on now it was talking to myself for a little bit the first couple, but now I get to bring on industry professionals and ask them questions about the industry and just get to know them. So this has been really fun for us. So today I have Mark Simpson from Boostly, which is a book direct platform to help everyone who's trying to build their book direct in their own presence and own their brand. So Mark, thank you for being here with us today.
Yeah, thank you very much for the invite. Looking forward to it.
Yes. Mark, I have your book right here. Just want to let you know this. I have not read it, so I don't want to sit here and tell everyone say that. But I was like, he wrote a book, and I think I have it. And so I read the quick beginning of it. So tell us a little bit how did you become the book direct evangelist? And not just in clearly you have an accent, the other side of the island, but the SDR hosts wealth community and everyone world, wide. You're really out there.
No, thank you. So, yeah, I mean, I started doing this in 2016, but I've been in the industry since I was born. I'm one of these rare breeds that was like born into it. My parents had a 200-acre farm stay bed and breakfast in the United Kingdom, and where we were situated was the northeast. So London's in the south, and then we're in the northeast. And where we were, outside of London, it was the most visited tourist destination in the United Kingdom. And it's a small town, so it's like a bit crazy. But because of that, because there's so many tourists come to the area, I was just so used to growing up in this environment. I was just always used to having strangers in my house, because we had a bed and breakfast. It was holiday cottages, it was a tea rooms, it was a restaurant, it was all the things. And I was, like I said, I was just so used to it, to the point where I started going to play dates at friends' house, and I was like looking around, wondering where people were. It was just so quiet. So I used
like,
to,
wait, how do y'all live like this?
yeah, I
What
know.
is
I was like, where
silence?
is everybody? So I earned like pocket money, doing the breakfast before the school run, doing evening meal, making beds, etc. So I was like well into it, and I all throughout my teenage life, I just wanted to do one thing and one thing only, and that was escape. I wanted to be
I bet.
I wanted to be a soccer player. I just wasn't very good at playing soccer, so I couldn't do that. I fell into coaching, which I really loved. And I got all my badges and had an amazing opportunity to go to America in 2002. So I kept doing that like every year. And then it was around about 2011. I moved back to the family business with my now wife, and our eldest was on the way. And we came back into the business because I was the eldest of four. And my parents still had it at this point. I think it was cracking on 25 years in of them owning the business, which is a long time. And they wanted one of us four to take the business on. All my younger siblings, I'm the eldest of four. My younger siblings weren't really up for it. They wanted to do their own thing, but we were like, yeah, we want to give us a go. So straight back in. My sort of role was to take 25 years worth of offline word of mouth and put it online. They were still doing everything on pen and paper. Like,
That's what I was going to ask me. It sounds like it was
yeah,
probably all word of mouth, and it makes me think of the time. Like, did they even have technology supporting them?
nah, but there really wasn't. There was no PMSs, there was no hosting, there was none of that. It really was pen and paper. They had this big book, and if a guest cancelled, they just Tipexed it. You know what I mean? So it's crazy. So my job was to get all of this online. So we got started with a UK based PMS. We put them on a website. We got them on the social medias. We got them on booking.com. We got them on this plucky little upstart called Airbnb. We did all of those things, and within 18 months, we were able to grow our social media presence to the most followed location in the local area,
How
the
wonderful.
local business, which was great. And it was a lot of hard work. We loved it. And then 2016, I was introduced to a book called The 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss, and it changed everything. Like, up until that point, there was no Facebook groups. There was no,
Hmm.
videos, podcasts, webinars, etc. There's none of that. And so to get this book was like eye-opening. And I listened to podcasts back then, but it was more football podcasts, soccer podcasts. You know what I mean? It wasn't really business
Hmm.
podcasts. But I started listening to I read the book, listened to the podcast, and I realized about this thing called, outsourcing. You didn't have to do everything yourself, which was like a mind-blowing thing for me back then. We started to use a website called Upwork.com,
Hmm.
and a couple of like
Very
people
familiar with that.
outsourced, and it worked really well. And after a while, I was able to sack myself from the business pretty much, which was great. I was able to bring in people to do that. And so
And
with
is
this,
that business still running today?
that sold in 2021. We put it on the market 2018. It was about to exit 2020, but then obviously the pandemic hit, which sort of put a
It's like
put,
minute
put
minus
a
a year
halt.
in life.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, no, my parents are happily retired now. And then around about 2016, I started to go to tourism meetings, and there was other hosts there, hotel hosts, B&B hosts, short-term rental hosts, vacation hosts.
Whatever you
And
want to call it.
yeah, and I was at those meetings, and I was like, what are you all doing to bring in your bookings? And everyone was just like, yeah, booking.com, etc. And I was like, well, what are you doing like to bring in your own bookings? And everybody looked at me with a blank face. And I was like, well, what about email? What about social? What about all these things? I'm like, nah, don't know how to do them. And so I went to the council and I said, the local tourism board, I said, where's the funding for this? And I said, there isn't any. It's like, where's the help and guidance? There isn't any. So I was like, right, well, let me do something about it. So I set up a Facebook group called the Hospitality Community Facebook group. It's still going to this day. And it was just designed for Scarborough and Whitby. And the goal was just to show up every day and just give help and advice. It's like, this is what I do
Hmm.
it, I following along. And, I started to notice on the Facebook group, we had people requesting to join from further afield, like Manchester, Liverpool, London, Edinburgh, and then Ireland and then Spain and Germany. And before I knew it, we'd get people from all over the world requesting to join the group. It's like 1,000 people. And I was answering questions every single day. I was logging in every day. I was answering DMs. And I turned to my wife at one point. I said, I'm answering more questions from hosts than I am my own guests here. It's weird. And so I thought, right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to record myself doing tasks. And I put it all down, put it onto like a course website, came into the group and said, right, I need 5 guinea pigs. I've recorded all this content of training
Hmm.
and I need people to test it to make sure that it actually makes sense. And 5 people put their hand up. They paid like $100 at the time, which was nothing. And they were the first 5 people that I properly taught. And
mean, way
that,
to identify a problem, right? And then create a solution, right? The problem is
yeah,
lack of education. And you didn't even realize, right, host or travelers, which way is it gonna go? And then you were like, okay, let's bring it out here. I mean, way to show, I mean, it really is it's a cool story.
thank you. Yeah, and then like it just grew from there. 8 years on now, Boostly has helped thousands of people. We're very lucky to publish books, like you've seen. It's been invited to speak all over the world, which is phenomenal. Being on big stages, and it's crazy that the more that I talk about it, and the more
Hmm.
podcasts I do and webinars that I get to do, and places that I go and speak and stuff, there's still a lot of people who don't know about the power of direct bookings, about why you should be building your house on your own land and not be over reliant on one platform to do it. So yeah, here I am
Yeah.
on the
And
podcast.
so many people don't know that, right? And and for me, like, so I've been in the industry for about 14 years. I did not grow up in vacation rentals, but my children are. From a vendor standpoint, my husband does as well too. So I'll be interested to see how they think about software when they get older.
Yeah.
Um, with everything. But I worked at Verbo for 7 years. And I mean, that was previous to the other Goliath being as big as it was. Like, part of our sales pitch was we had written down on paper, like, we're 15 times larger than Airbnb, right? It was a joke at the time, right? So seeing that transition as a salesperson, and then, I went to revenue management, and then the one to really kind of highlight this difference is StayFi. I was at StayFi a year. Arthur Kokler is a very good friend of mine, met him when he first started the business, and how I met you. And, it's truly like you sit there and it's StayFi helps you gather the guest information so you can email people out so you know who you order to put back to you. And I hear people say all the time, well, wait, we're going against the OTAs, right? Well, you're building a business, number one, right? Number two, like I have heard Brian Chesky, Brian Sharples, who was the CEO of HomeAway, and Expedia representatives get on stage and say, the first guest, yeah, we're the marketplace. Like you should pay us, but you are allowed to take them back. So what is that fear that you think people have?
I think it's a couple of things. Number one is Airbnb make it so easy to be on that platform. They
do
spend a lot of money, obviously, on marketing and brand awareness. You know, I feel like their branding team and their marketing team do not get as much kudos as that what they should do, because they do build that trust. So number one, if you think about it, as you're starting a business, you've got all these spinning plates. There's so many things going on, and if one of your plate that's spinning can just be gone, oh, Airbnb will take care of that, then you're fine. You're good, you know?
Mm-hmm.
The problem is what happens if that plate stops spinning?
Mm-hmm.
What happens if 100% of your bookings are coming from one channel and then it stops and it gets cut off? And cut off could mean anything. It doesn't mean a suspended account. It could just mean,
it could be refunded information. It could be, I mean, so many things.
yeah, but and if you look at this in any other business, so if your friend started up a PT business or a hairdressing business, right? And if your friend is doing their hairdressing, right? And you're talking to him, you're having a beer, you're having a meal, and just say, "Oh, fantastic! How's it going?" Yeah, fantastic. You know, every single one of my customer comes from Voucher, you know, or a voucher site, Groupon. You know, well, what happens if Groupon stops? What happens when that dries up? It doesn't matter. I'm literally on there. That's all I need. You would look at her and go, I think you should do something else, right? And this is literally the same case, but it's hospitality, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people think that what Arthur talks about, what I talk about, what these vendors talk about is going cold turkey on Airbnb, Vrbo.
That was going to be my next thing I was going to say. We're not saying cold turkey.
We're not saying cold turkey, but what you need to do is you need to have multiple revenue streams into your business. So yes, you got to be on Airbnb. Yes, you got to be on Booking.com. Be on all of them, but make sure that you've got multiple streams coming in. You're listed everywhere, and obviously on top of that, you will have your own direct bookings, because direct bookings isn't just a website. That is the big misconception. Direct bookings,
it's a brand awareness,
social media, email, do SEO. Offline, online, word of mouth, referrals, network, etc. There's so many variables to it. But the more that you can build, if for whatever reason one plate stops spinning, then you've got
the other one's still going.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what we teach. That's what we talk about. And you know, I get like sort of labeled the book direct guy and all of those things. And it's one of the first things that people say about that. But what's really important with this podcast that we're going to do and this with that webinar that with Zoom that we're doing is not about saying, listen, it's either book direct or no way. It's about making sure that you've got multiple revenue streams coming in.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a great point to make, and I definitely want, and I used to say that in my entire career, and if I tell people, maybe I'm not being clear. Let's take a step back, right? Like you should be everywhere, like in a PMS and like Hostiva and many others out there, right? Like we connect to 85 plus channels and we give you a direct booking website, right? Now, it's a very templated website, what you need to determine on your 5-year plan, where do you want to go and how do you want to build your brand and how do you want to connect those things, right? But we're additionally giving you the guest emails, like giving you ways to do this so that you can decide as a property manager that strategy to bringing them back to you. But, if you go to some numbers, Hostiva is also a property manager. So we manage about, 1,000 properties in-house and many, many more co-hosting. And just across our platform, we have seen in the past year, we have direct booking websites. We don't put a lot of money into it, right? What a switch for me going from StayFi to Hostiva, right? In there. And I believe last year, 95% of our bookings came from Airbnb. Today, we're sitting about 47 Airbnb and 22% booking. Everything else coming through, kind of a sporadic of other things, right? You have to be, you have to have a technology and you have to have way to put yourself out there because you really don't know what trend's going to change, right? Because the travelers are also reading the news, right? So while Airbnb makes a great platform for them to book on, right, they're reading the stories just like you are as a host.
No, 100%, 100%.
So what would you say to somebody, like if somebody was, really understood this, right? Like, it's okay, like Mark, like we want to talk with you. We've been doing our research on Book Direct. We're sitting here and we just, when it comes to budgeting, right? And everything coming in, how do we switch that mind shift, knowing like, hey, maybe we're 85% occupied, everything's fine, everything's okay, but I'd like to be more safe and solidify my business and my brand.
Well, when it comes to spending money on it, you can get started for and not have to worry about spending money on it. I always say that until you get to maybe 6 figures in revenue, you could probably just scrappily make it by. But once you get past that level, then I feel like it means that you are on your way to having a business. Because when you
Mm-hmm.
first get going, this may be a side gig. This may be one property. Maybe you're doing the management model. You've got a couple of properties under your belt. You're still not sure. Maybe you're looking after it for a friend of a friend or somebody that's being passed.
Co-hosting, kind of
Yeah,
trying it out.
yeah, exactly. So, but it gets to a certain point where this is like, wow, this could be my business. This could be my career. This could be the thing that I focus on, right? And once you get past that level, there will be a time when you will need to look to get a property management system on board. B, you're gonna have to look to get hiring on board. So you're not doing all the work yourself. And C, obviously, that is when the point where you're gonna have to invest. And I
Mm-hmm.
always say that when you cross that level, that's when you need to obviously speak to us or speak to anybody that does website design, because the most important part of your business is your online business card. And if you're sending them to
Mm-hmm.
a free website, which is just a landing page, it's not a true reflection on what you do. For
Or your
example,
brand or your tone or how you differ
yeah.
from
So if you
anybody
do the
else.
management model, for example, you will obviously have your properties on the first page of your website, but there will be a page on your site that you want to show off the management model of your business to speak to investors, etc. You can not really truly do that with a free site. So that's where you'll need to get something that is built on WordPress, that you get more flexibility, you get more visibility, which is cool. And plus as well, it just looks more professional. That's why we started doing it, in all honesty. In 2018, one of our members, and we had about 500 members of part of the
Mm-hmm.
training, so Boostly at that point, they said, hey, my website designer's gone missing. My website's really out of date. The last time I updated it was, last decade. Can
You
you,
hear that all the time.
yeah, and we were like, yeah, 100%. So we put it together. It worked, did it on WordPress. And then that sort of word of mouth grew and grew and grew from there. And one of the things that I've come to notice is that with a strong website, when it's built properly and it's got all the framework in place, it's like a mousetrap. If you can get a guest or a future potential guest to land on it, every single part of that business is you, right? And that's the most important thing about the mousetrap. It's all
Mm-hmm.
when they land on an Airbnb or they land on booking.com, and even let's just say they miraculously appear on your listing out of the other hundreds or thousands that you have to battle against. Even if you do that, the listing sites are still going, hey, you like this? Check out this. You like that? Check out this. When they're
Mm-hmm.
on your site, it's just you and your properties. And I feel like budgeting, you need to start investing at some point. And I feel like that little marker's a nice one. You don't have to invest 20, 30, 40,000
No.
dollars. We charge $6,000 for the website and access to all of our things. But I feel like that's a good barometer of when you need to start investing. In terms of the
Mm-hmm.
other Facebook ads, Google ads, etc. I'm a big believer that you don't really have to turn on paid ads until you get to that next level when you are
Mm-hmm.
coming close to maybe $1 million in revenue, because you can do a lot of the things for free that just take time, and that's where you would pay someone to do that. For example, being visible in Facebook groups, networking, cold outreach, etc. And that's what I talk about in the book. There's like 101 of those tactics in that book, the Book Direct Playbook.
Yeah, and we still, as a company ourselves, like that definitely completely makes sense. And we have like our presence in social media is more, it is to show our travelers what they're doing. But I have to say, it's almost more to gather more owners. It's a completely different strategy, right, than the Book Direct. So you just determine at what that time that area is. And I think you make a really good point, right? short-term rentals is not a passive income dream, but that's kind of what we've heard in advertising and media for a couple of years, right? So if you're just coming in and you're just trying it out, right? This kind is like the last thing, not, I don't want to say the last thing on your mind, right? But if you're getting an Airbnb, get a PMS, get these small things and determine where you want to go. And if you can build a team to help you support you do it, right? It's test and learn. Everything's test and learn, but hospitality doesn't sleep, and neither will the tech that goes around to like support it.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, one of the biggest myths in this industry is this word passive income. I think it's one of the biggest myths in any sort of business starting.
Anyone.
It's definitely not passive. I mean, I always say that people don't really come and speak to us until they've felt the pain. What I mean by that is that they haven't got a season under their belt. So once I've felt the pain, I've got a season under the belt of dealing with guests at 11 o'clock at night who need the Wi-Fi. You've had the issue with Airbnb. You've had no support and guidance if a guest has done something, etc. So they come to us because they've felt that pain and they go, "There's got to be another way." There is nothing passive about this business. Yes, you can grow it, and yes, you can hire lots of staff, but still, it's not 100% passive. Yes, you can make your life easier, but that comes with growth and scale and learning and all of that. If you ever want just passive money, you've got to just go and invest it in a stock or a share or a Vanguard bond, because that's the only thing that is properly passive that is out there.
You have to be you have to pay attention. It's high detail. And we used to, StayFi, people, StayFi was a well-oiled machine, things coming in, but when the bigger ones would come to us, they were in pain. They just felt like usually it was like a $10,000 refund over something that they just had no control over, right? And then not have it, and then they didn't have the guest information. So there were different ways. Do you have any case studies or situations you want to share where somebody came to you and they were able to succeed more in Book Direct, or how it changes their experience, right? Because I think the success in Book Direct can be defined differently for a certain person.
Yeah, no, 100%. And we're very lucky. After 8 years, we've helped over 2,500 hosts, business owners now all over the world. And there's tons and tons of case studies and tons. It really does depend on like your individual circumstance. But one thing I would say, and the common trait in every single person who succeeds, is consistency. What do I mean by that is that the people that sign up to a course or get a website and then just go, right, that's the magic. That's it. That's done. I don't have to do anything now. I can sit back and wait for it to come in. That's not the case. Consistency 100% pays back. And when I talk about this to our members, when I talk about this to our students, etc., I always say about, if you can just dedicate for the next year, 365 days, just 10 to 30 minutes of new business every day, ideally first thing, because when you're first thing, you've got the energy and you can just crack on with the rest. 10 to 30 minutes of new business every day, whatever that new business activity looks like. By this time next year, your business will be so much better. The problem is that people get super hyped on day one. They'll go and do send a couple of messages out. They'll maybe do a couple of Facebook posts, or maybe email somebody that they know that's got tons of guests coming in and they need to etc. Day one, 100% flying. If nothing bounces, day two, they maybe spend 25 minutes, do it again. Day 3, day 4, day 7 comes, and if nothing's happened, they go, that didn't work. Let me give up on that. But it really, well, they say that you don't really crack a new routine until, day 21 or day 28 of doing it consistently. It's like if you want to do push-ups or whatever, right? So you got to first break through that barrier. But if you can keep on going past month 1 and get to month 12, doing it every single day, 10 to 30 minutes, your business will be so much better. And there's a person that I knew, or still know, based in the UK. Their version of new business was doing a Facebook Live video every day. 10 to 30 minutes max, and they were just walking, because they walk the dog anyway, walking on the beach. And they did every single day for a year, consistently, Facebook Live. It's got to a point where people started to recognize her as the person who does the live videos on the beach. And then they reached out, they followed, they saw the business, and now she has her own radio show at a local radio station. So
that's what a great story. I love that.
Her business grew because of the back of it. She got more confident, she got more creative. And she was able to apply that into new business because it was a tourist destination where she was based. people would ask their friends or put on social media, hey, I'm coming to this area. Where do you recommend I go and stay? She was top of mind. So they didn't go, oh, check out the local insert chain. They'll go, oh, check out so-and-so's business. They've got a bed and breakfast. They've got a place to stay. And she would naturally get people because she became the go-to because of consistency. And that is just one of many, 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 many stories of people that I see. One of the common themes is consistency.
I think that's just, I mean, it's an amazing point and way to validated so many things in my life. Because sometimes I'm doing like, it's only been a month, it's only been 2 months, it's only been 3 months. And it's like, you're doing these things for a reason, right? And where your focus and where it lies and why you're doing it is in there. But it's just very important for people to know, because your brand is not, that you're whenever it comes to no matter what business you are, but let's say Airbnb vacation rentals, right? You're going out into social media or Google, or you just that first post or that first thing that's out there, like truly, like if you have a good following at all, maybe they'll like it, but they're probably not going to like the second one, right? So you have to keep going and just make that a part of you, right? And I have to say that's part of this is the second company I've started a webinar, right? I feel like I can educate people, and I like to meet people. So you consistently do it and hope something comes out of it. Well, Mark, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. Is there any last things that you want to talk about or cover on our webinar, Zoom, podcast, however anyone wants to listen to this when it comes out?
I think if you want more, go and check out the book Direct Playbook. That's a good place to get started. 101 tactics and tips. There we go. 101 tactics and tips.
It's not going on my.
All right. It is available on Amazon, and that'll really help. It's all about finding what that 80-20 is. What 20% of activities can you do that will move 80% of the needle? And for some people, that may be doing live videos on social media. For some people, it may just be picking up the phone, dropping in calls to local colleges, businesses, etc., to fill out your properties on an MTR strategy. For some people, it may be doing Facebook group posts in a touristy sort of Facebook group. Whatever you decide to do, just be consistent at it. That book will give you 101. Because the biggest problem people come to me is like, well, what do I do? It's like, well, read the book, find out what yours is, and that will literally solve so many things. And then if you are watching this and if you are looking to invest in a site, we'd love to speak to you. Boostly.co.uk, go and check it out. Mention the pod and I'll chat to my guys and we'll see if we can get you a little discount for Hostiva peeps.
Yeah.
No, thank you very much for having me. It's always a pleasure to come and spread more word on the Book Direct.
Yes, and it's a pleasure. I talked to you whenever I met you in Nashville that I had, always kind of heard of you, known you through Arthur. Like it was like we had crossed paths but not met. So it's an honor being able to chat with you. If anyone from the Boostly crowd or anyone is watching this and you're like, what is the PMS? How do I distribute? What are these things? So Hostiva, we're happy to help you out with that, right? So you can reach out to us. So thank you again so much, Mark, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much. Speak soon.
Bye.